I'm watching right now to see how many thumbs up and thumbs downs we got. As you guys vote for that, let me switch you over here and we'll get right into the Forex side of things this morning, okay? So like I said, not a lot of news this morning on the global macro scale, right? If we look at Forex Factory, the news this morning really started at 12:30 last night. Since then, we haven't had any impactful events. Like I said, the PMI numbers are coming out at 10 a.m. That is a high impact news event. However, by 10 a.m., I'm done trading. So that news event isn't going to shake up the market for me and for you guys probably at all. What's important here is that we do look back at this RBA rate statement that happened last night. The reason why that's important, if we look here on my other tab, this is also Forex Factory, you'll see, according to LiveSquawk, the bank now sees raising the cash rate in November of 2021. Why that's important is because if you look at the cash rate, it's stayed the same. It's been the same since November 2nd of 2020. So it's been this 0.1 cash rate for months now, almost a year. So to see the rate change coming in November, I think is going to shake up this market, probably all pairs that are correlated to the Australian dollar when that does happen. So just keep that in mind. I know it was forecast and it was, it was forecast to stay as previous, and that's what it came out as. I know it's been that 0.1, but don't get complacent because now, like I'm showing you, they're saying that they're going to probably raise rates in 2021 in November here. So just keep that in mind. Other than that, the PMI news is the only news to be worried about. So really, you should have a clean market to trade this morning. The first thing on my list is going to be EuroCAD. Now, before we talk about what happened today, let's go back so I can explain these orange zones to you. So this is yesterday's price data that you see here. You can see I have it labeled resistance to these zones. Yesterday, because it was a bank holiday, we didn't stream, we didn't trade. But I still wake up and I still do my thing and I watch the market to see what's potentially happening. When we saw price moving towards these two zones yesterday and towards the white 200 EMA, we felt that it could probably hold those zones and come lower into the afternoon. And that's what it did. So coming into today, you'd hold that short bias, especially because market sentiment is bearish today. You can see that. Yesterday, those zones that it bounced off of, if you go back, go into last week. So if you look back here to June 23rd, where we found bullish divergence and it traded off of it, those two zones are from the 23rd and the 24th, where we saw resistance to it on the 25th, resistance to it here on June 30th. So these were zones of support. When the zones were broken on Friday during NFP, this pair broke both of those zones, broke underneath them, making the support turn into resistance. That resistance was then confirmed here as we tried to get above the zones yesterday, but could not. So even though there was no opportunity to take this short yesterday, you use that price action to feed the bias. Then you come into today's action, you see market sentiment is bearish, so you find your short bias very easily, and then you're just waiting for trigger signals. Now, specifically, you're waiting for A1s or D1s if you're trading the ASFX systems. No D2 entries are going to present here because we're trading in trend. Now, if you read my notes, there's been two opportunities today where you could have been induced to take short positions. Neither of them were proper A1 formations. The first one is this 2-candle formation coming off the 21. As you can see, the RSI was not even close to being in proper value. The second formation was this 3-candle formation where the RSI does look like now it's in proper formation, but when this candle first closed, the RSI was just sitting on the market sentiment line and on the trend line. So it wasn't in proper position for an A1. It looks like it is because the next candle here is bearish, but you would not want to jump in short just on that 3-candle formation because number one, if it's not confirmed with the TDI, it's not an ASFX entry, and we're not just going to trade every 3-candle engulfing formation. Number two, you could only get 1.7R to your zone here at yesterday's low. That's where this orange box, Friday's low. You see the resistance down here from Friday and Monday. We could only get 1.7R, not even 2R to that level. And then the third thing that's not great about this is that the right leg of the formation does not break past the previous consolidation point. This is the previous consolidation point. Let me make that line bigger so you can see it, just because I know some of you guys don't trade the ASFX systems, and I want you to understand what I look for. That white line is where the consolidation starts, where the pullback starts. You'd want the right leg here to break that level and come lower, a strong right leg coming off the 21 EMA. So now, because you have three things wrong with it, and it's, again, just on its own, not an ASFX entry without the RSI being proper on that candle close, There is no entry. And if you would have taken the position this morning, look what would have happened. Stopped out. So how do you avoid the stop out? You don't take trades that are off edge. Too many times, new traders, number one, think that they're always going to be right. But number two, they take every trade idea that they see. You have to be able to differentiate from trade ideas versus trades that are worth your money. And one of the ways to do that is to use a checklist behind a proven profitable system. For this morning, you're looking at 2A1 potential entries, but if you know how to use the checklist and you know how to use the system, you don't get induced into either of these. We stayed flat and we didn't take a loss this morning. I walked everybody through this in the group chat as well. So for the guys that are newer and you're wondering if I take the courses, can I follow along with this? You definitely can follow along with it. However, you can also make these decisions for yourself after you've understood how to identify the proper candle formations as well. So that's what we were looking at on EuroCAD. Now we'll flip over to GBP CHF. GBP CHF is going the opposite way. It's long biased based on the market sentiment you can see carrying from yesterday. Yesterday it moved up. Overnight last night, as you can see, it pulled the EMAs into a full trend. Now it looks like it wants to try to come higher here as the 8 and 21 EMAs just crossed. The reason why I'm not too hot on this today is that bearish divergence on top. So you could definitely look at this like a shift candle. That's what we would call an A1 entry. It's a form of an A1 entry. But this shift candle can only get 1.5 R to the divergence line. Now, normally, you would read risk reward and want to find 2R to the next level, whether it's high of day, whether it's the divergence line, either one, you'd want to find at least 2R if you're trading the way that we trade, if you're trading ASFX systems. Now, if I go to the Asia high and I box that off, now you can see even more resistance in the way. If we were already above the Asia high and there was still divergence in the way, I might be more willing to trade it. But the fact that we've already rejected that price level set in the Asian session shows me that we could find a lot of slowing in here. So if we were to mark this up and put some notes on this right now, it is an A1 shift candle. RSI looks good. TDI looks good. But first knock, bearish divergence in the way of 2R. And then we'll do the second knock will be initial high of day in the Asian session. Still resistance, not broken yet. If that level was broken, then I look to trade off of it. But to me, right now, see this lower low? Here it's not making higher lows, it's a lower low. This could actually be coming down. It sets the high here, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower. So you have to see it potentially not going in your favor before you jump